reserve requirements and investment requirements.
But aren't they also invested a lot of the other agency debt like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and other government debt, that is not necessarily treasury bonds, but at least other corporate entities that are affiliated with our government?
Well, I have about $300 billion of that.
Right. So you're talking pretty close to $1 trillion.
They've been dumping that and buying treasuries to mask the problem, that exists for U.S. Needing to raise money. And I don't know who's buying the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac paper, but I think it's the Fed. I think they're the buyers, and the money that's gleaned from those is used to buy treasuries. Now,
I think it's so important that people understand what happens is the Federal Reserve just creates the money out of nothing. And what they've actually done is increase the money base. They doubled it here in the last year, which means that down the line, right now your money's worth half of what it was, a year ago. I mean, they destroyed the value. The inflation hasn't set in yet, but we're just seeing the beginning of this because, this $2 trillion deficit we're going to be running this year could very well be $3 trillion the following year and $4 and $5 trillion the next year. Just like the government we installed there in Zimbabwe. Maybe that was an experiment to see how you destroy a great nation. We put that government in power. We've kept Mugabe in power. Maybe it's just simply a trial run.
Well, it could be a modern-day trial run. The other thing I was going to say is that this past year, China has purchased $233 billion worth of U.S. Treasuries. That's down quite a bit from what they had purchased previously, and they have not been buyers here in the last little while. The other large buyer was the Gulf oil producers. They bought $245 billion, which is a little bit more than the Chinese, but they're a collective group of countries there. And their revenues are down from $147 a barrel to $40 a barrel. So I don't think they're going to be running out there buying any. If they do, it'll be a very small amount of treasuries.
Bob, it's amazing that nobody ever asked, where is this $819 billion that Obama just appropriated? Where is the money coming from? Where is the $700 billion TARP funds coming from? In fact, if you read my November letter, we'd already put out, almost $7 billion, over $7.4 billion by the end of November, trying to rescue the economic system. Where did that $7 trillion come from? Nobody's ever asking, does the money grow on trees? Does it come out of a printing press? Is it miraculously come down from the skies? 'Cause when you turn on the printing presses, you destroy the value of the currency and do impoverish the people. But pick the story up because we're spending massive amounts of money, accomplishing absolutely nothing to correct the problem, and of course things are getting worse and worse every day. And yes, of course, the American people never say, where's the money coming from that Mr. Obama, President Obama, is going to be spending?
Well, some of it's been raised by the Treasury, but the majority of it is coming from the Fed. And it's been my suspicion that they've already been, essentially breaking the law. And what they've been doing is the Fed has been secretly selling Treasury bonds to the Federal Reserve, which, as you said, makes money up out of thin air and buys those bonds and issues the currency or issues the ability to print the currency to the U.S. Treasury. And I expect that the $1.3 to $2 trillion shortfall fiscally will be filled out that way this year between now and September the 30th. I expect that funding in between, because as I just pointed out, China really doesn't want to buy any more paper. And at the same time, the Gulf states are not in a position to do so. So we're going to see more monetization there. And how much? Altogether, probably $2.5 to $3 trillion. And if you add it to all the other things that they're doing, I figured it all out. My last figure was 12 to 13 trillion in total for this fiscal year, with all of the things that they're doing. Citicorp and AIG.
I think Bank of America just asked for another $100 billion.
Who did?
Bank of America wants another $100 billion.
Right. And they're bankrupt, no question.
Right.
All the major banks are under, as is all the major brokerage firms.
Well, how about
most of the insurance companies are on the verge of bankruptcy. And it's all because of the derivative market, if nothing else.
Well, I understand the 3 banks went down last Friday after the market closed, of course.
Well, I expect continued problems. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And I've told people who have insurance policies that are more than 50% funded, and those who have annuities, to get out of them because they may never collect anything. And I've told people with CDs and banks to get rid of them. Where do they go with the money? They go to gold and silver-related assets. If they don't want all their money there, they can buy Swiss franc government bonds, Swiss treasuries. And that's it. I don't have any other recommendations.
Well, I think the tragedy is that most people do not understand what happens when a nation sets out to debauch its currency and to destroy the fundamentals of its economics, because we have people who have a different agenda. They want to transfer power to China and to Russia, and they want to transfer our manufacturing to Brazil and to Mexico. But they can't tell the American people that. They've been doing it. They've already sent over half of our manufacturing overseas. It has been done intentionally, and we've sent phenomenal amounts of money overseas. We are sending phenomenal amounts of money out in the form of foreign aid when we're having to borrow money every day to pay our bills. How can you be providing foreign aid for other countries when, of course, you have to borrow money to pay your bills? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe Joseph Stiglitz is. Maybe they're just all mad up there. Maybe this is organized insanity, or maybe it's something far more sinister.
Well, it's something far more sinister. The easy way is to dismiss it as insanity. Paul Craig Roberts has done that, but he knows what's going on, and I've described it that way too. But it's really a lot more than that.
I realize that I think it's far more diabolical. Well, if you're out the listening audience and you have a question or comment for Bob Chapman, is with us every week at this time. Our telephone number is 1-888-24-LIBERTY. 1-888-24-LIBERTY or 464-8295. And I know, Bob, I'd love to hear from you if you have any question or comment. But America is at the going from bad to worse. The $819 billion is not. Remember, the whole budget of the United States is only about $3 trillion a year. And we already came up with almost $10 trillion last year, and it didn't do any good. It's not going to. Go right ahead, Bob.
I think that the war that's going on between the two parties in the war, we'll call it a non-combative war, between the Democrats and Republicans is all political folderol. The Democrats have enough to pass the stimulus package. They just want the Republicans to go along with them, and so that if it doesn't work, they can share the blame. And that's what that's all about. And I don't think the Republicans are going to come across, and the excuse will be, well, we don't want to be responsible for a loser. And they're right. It is going to be a loser. I expect the results of that stimulus package to last from 3 to 9 months, and in all probability 3 to 6. So what do we get? Probably something on the order of 90 to 180 days and it'll be history. If you're going to do a program like that, the only way to do it is to go where it's needed the most. Now, I know that the financial entities are bankrupt. They should be allowed to go under. But, of course, they own the Fed, so they're not going to allow that to happen. They don't care about the American people. They just care about their wealth and power. But the way to do it, if you're going to spend that kind of money, which is $12 or $13 trillion,